Hey everybody, it's Chuck from the future. This is some archival footage of literally the best and last bus that we did out of our shop. And of course there was so much of it that we couldn't fit it all into one video. So there will be two parts to this. You're in luck. It's like a 2-for-1 or a 1-for-2. It's one or the other. Two birds in the bus are they're always worth it, is what I'm trying to say. Thanks for watching. I'm not one for drama or undue flair, but when I say that the bus I'm standing next to represents the best work I've ever done and the best work that my team ever did, well, I ain't kidding you. This is the last full build that will ever leave our shop, and this 1990 Crown Supercoach, built for someone who's become a friend of mine, is a very special bus, the likes of which I've never seen, and well, maybe you never will either. I want to take a moment before we head out of town tomorrow and deliver this to its new owners and new home up in Washington, and walk around this beautiful machine, every nut and bolt that we've turned on it, and go over some of the details that we've packed into it, some of the facts and features that it had originally from the factory, and share with you something that I'm very proud of. You might not guess it, but this bus is actually a 1990. Crown, the company that built this, actually came up with this body style, or versions of it that look just like it, immediately following World War II. And that style remained unchanged until 1991, when Crown finally went out of business. This model right here, being a 1990, was one of the last to roll off the production line, but still it features an engine that was first developed and released in 1938. This particular bus was the fruit of a long search, trying to find a good candidate worthy of the restoration and conversion that our clients had in mind. Ultimately, we found this bus in Southern California with a blown motor, which was fine because we were planning on rebuilding the engine and all the drivetrain from the ground up anyway. We picked up that bus in the summer of 2017 after I flew out to look at it, and had it shipped back to Bernhard Bus in Allentown, Pennsylvania, of all places, where it underwent some pretty extreme surgery. The bus was raised off the ground, the engine was removed, it was then rebuilt to fire truck specifications with a bigger turbo, bigger injectors, an enlarged radiator. We also added a second alternator for charging the house bank, but we didn't stop there. We went ahead and added a retarder to the driveline output of the transmission for enhanced braking performance when going downhill. We also removed the old rear axle with its leaf spring suspension and replaced it with a modern air ride suspension out of a Freightliner. I could tell you right now, the only thing original on this whole drivetrain is actually the diesel tank. And we almost replaced that, but it was in good shape. One of my most favorite features that we've added to this machine are these Vista View skylights. They're also called stand-e windows in the regular bus world. These are actually from an Airstream, and we added them to this bus so that when you're standing inside, well, you still have an amazing view of the horizon. We added those. I also went to the trouble of finding a Crown in a junkyard that I was able to steal some door panels from, because we actually had to add some luggage compartments to this bus. This bus originally was not designed to haul luggage. It was just a typical Californian school bus. That wasn't going to work for us because this family are musicians. They need a place to store their instruments. So we had to add 2 luggage bays. One was for storage, the other was for our hydronic heating system. And I will show you exactly what I'm talking about. This compartment right here is our front luggage bay. It actually used to be where the spare tire lived. We went in and framed it out, we fully enclosed it, and it actually became the place where we added our fill for our remote mounted propane tank. Because we crammed this bus's undercarriage with so many tanks, machines, an engine, and a luggage compartment, we actually had to mount our propane tank in the middle of the bus in a dead space above the front axle. Pretty incredible. Over here, this wasn't even a compartment. I was able to actually find a Crown luggage door, and then Ty, our amazing fabricator, constructed this box and attached the door to cover it up. And what we have is actually a compartment that looks extremely stock. You'd almost never know It didn't come with it. Of course, that closes. A lot of times in our conversions and other people's conversions, you have to have multiple units to solve the problem of heating the interior of the bus and providing domestic hot water. Additionally, if you have a diesel, it's really nice to have a way to preheat the diesel engine. Well, that's where this unit comes into play. It is an AquaHot 600D, and this unit right here is responsible for all of those jobs. It's got a diesel-fired boiler that is tapped directly into the bus's 100-gallon fuel tank. It's also plumbed into the bus's engine coolant system, and it, of course, is tied in to the potable hot water system and a dispersed array of heat exchangers on their own thermostats distributed all throughout the bus, including the rear luggage compartment, so that the lithium batteries, any luggage back there, and the gray water tank all stay above freezing. It's pretty ingenious, and one of the great features about this is while you're going down the road, you can use the heat scavenged off the engine, and there's a lot of it, to make hot water and to operate the heat exchangers inside the bus. Additionally, if you are parked somewhere cold and you've got to fire up this old Detroit, although this thing is a fresh rebuild and honestly fires up before it's even done a whole revolution, you can turn this baby on and it will preheat the engine for you. It's an outstanding unit. It's very complicated. It was a real learning curve and a real job to install. But systems like these truly represent the state of the art in off-grid RV heating. I really like it so far. I've been impressed with its performance. It easily keeps up with, anything that we've thrown at it. It's endless hot water, which is fantastic. And since they have a 100-gallon freshwater tank, well, you could take a bath, take a shower, take another bath, and then probably take a shower and still have water left. Nice. While we're on the subject of luggage compartments, let's talk about the back of this Crown. It's incredibly spacious back here. It extends down and then up underneath what was the rear bench, and then actually the floor in front of the rear bench, very far. So far, in fact, that we were able to install an 80-gallon gray water tank in here, all of our lithium iron phosphate batteries, our entire solar electric system, including a Victron 5,000 watt Quattro inverter, a 100 amp solar charge controller, and our surge protector, and all of the accoutrements related to that. But we also still have a ton of storage available. These trunks are awesome. One of my favorite things about the Crown. And like I said earlier, over on this side, we actually have a heat exchanger that is operated by the AquaHot unit that keeps our gray tank from ever freezing, and it also keeps our lithium iron phosphate batteries in their optimal operating temperature range. If you're not familiar, those batteries don't like to get cold. Well, because of this heat exchanger, we know they never will. I'd be remiss, of course, if I didn't also mention the fact that we added a custom trailer hitch to the back of this bus. It was actually quite the challenge, and a lot more so than a typical bus, because we had some tricky design parameters to include. Not only is it an issue because the frame of this bus actually stops about 4 feet before the bumper, but we also need to have all of our additional supports removable so that this gray water tank come out if it ever needed to be serviced. Tricky indeed, but Ty, our awesome fabricator, was up to the task, and we've got a trailer hitch that is discreet, clean, strong, but also removable for service. How's that? Bring you in so you can take a look at all of this handiwork. These are these supports that I was mentioning there. This is our 80-gallon gray water tank here. Up on the right-hand side there, you can see the AquaHot heat exchanger. It's actually got its own thermostat, so you can dial in the temperature. We've got our master battery disconnect. This is the power coming in from our secondary alternator. Little additional battery monitor from Victron. That's nice. And then, of course, we've got our 15 kilowatt hours of lithium iron phosphate battery operating the whole system. Well, there's not a whole lot happening on this side of the bus, which is nice because it's not the curb side. You don't want to be spending a whole lot of time over here, but in keeping with the traditions of RVs, we have our 50 amp shore power hookup here, and we also have our freshwater fill port. One unique thing about Crowns is that they feature what's called a wet wall window system. That means that these windows are not a split pane like you would normally see that go halfway down. they actually go all the way down just like a normal car window. That means that they have to have a cavity that they can roll down into. One of the benefits of that is that this cavity is actually designed to let water in, and then it drains out through this line here. That means that even if you have leaky windows, it's not a big deal because that water is going to end up outside. However, one of the design parameters that makes tricky is anytime you need to have a penetration inside of the bus, it has to happen below that cavity. That really turned our building methodology upside down. The only way that we were able to accomplish a lot of these penetrations through, I wish these people wouldn't drive by when I'm filming, by the way. As you could imagine, that really makes building a challenge because a lot of times you need to poke a hole in the side of the bus right below the window. Well, we found ways around that, and I'm really happy with how the size of these buses turned out. And of course, the last feature that I have to talk about on the driver's side is this extremely cute chimney that we installed for the Dickinson Marine diesel heater, which is the supplemental heating source. Adds a lot of ambiance in there. And that thing with the Vista View windows, I mean, come on. Rounding out the exterior details before I take you inside, we've replaced all of the lights with LEDs. I even found these are actually new old stock lights off of a semi from the 50s. To hide all the solar panels, we engineered a fairing system that you can see across the top that hides all of the solar panels very discreetly. And everywhere that I could, I found new old stock lights and replaced the bulbs with LEDs. And so you get that vintage look with modern performance. Don't tell anybody, but we left the old school bus lights functional. Shh. Of course, as you can imagine, school buses don't come with a door light. So I found that's actually a license plate light off of an Airstream with a high power LED in it. It makes a fantastic front porch light. Now, before we can go inside, I gotta talk about how we're getting there. And one of the things that makes a Crown bus extremely unique is they're one of the few buses that I'm aware of that actually feature an inward opening passenger door. Fantastic, really, for a lot of reasons. The biggest one is that you have a door that opens inward, so you don't have to worry about hitting parking signs or curbs or anything like that. And it also makes for a very conducive conversion to a coach style door. Well, unfortunately, Crown doors come with a massive rubber gasket on the side, really as a safety feature so that you can't slam the door on, you know, a small child's arm or hand. Well, that wasn't gonna work for us because not only would it be difficult to mount a lock and secure the door, it was gonna be drafty as heck. Again, I fall back on the skills of Ty as we designed a brand new Crown door in the style of a Crown door that was wider and did not have the lower window and was full of insulation so that we could get the performance we needed. Now we have a door that's the full width. We're able to install a real lock on it. It's got a great window at the top, retains a lot of the Crown aesthetic, but it gives us the functionality we need. And one of the most important things for me was retaining that functionality. A Crown bus door is traditionally only operated by air. And when it's not being driven or used as a school bus and you need to get in and out, you turn off the air to it and you open and close it manually, like this. Well, that's all well and good, but if you get in the bus and you're gonna be driving it, you wanna be able to control it by air. The problem is, if you're gonna have a locking latch on it, how do you have a locking latch that does, you know, what it's supposed to do, can't get in, that can also be unlocked and opened, that also knows when you're trying to operate it by air so you don't have to get out of the driver's seat, reach over, unlock it, and let the person in. Well, I came up with one of the more clever engineering solutions I think I've come up with, if I do say so. But we used a commercial electric latch here that can actually be turned on and off by the flick of a switch. Now, we have a manual switch that makes it so that when you flip the switch, it's impossible to actually lock the door. So look, I can open it, close it, open, close it. I'm not turning the handle, I'm not doing anything. Or when you don't send power to it, it functions like a normal latch. Can't get in, gotta do the code. Now, to make it so that would be fully automatic, so if the driver wants to open it, we used an air activated switch on the pneumatic cylinder that opens and closes the door automatically by the switch on the dash, so that anytime air pressure is sent to the door to tell it to open, it actually automatically releases the lock. So whether or not you have the door locked, if you're the driver of this bus sitting up in the front seat and you want to open it, you can at just the flip of a switch. I think that's pretty clever. We didn't lose any functionality and added a whole new world of security, because locking a front door on a bus, if you've seen any of my videos, it's a tricky one. And I pride myself on our ability to problem solve our way through many, many unlockable doors. And this one's no exception. Anyway, enough rambling about doors. Let's get inside and show off this beautiful interior, shall we? Some deer are watching too. Look at those guys. Hey guys.